So we are welcoming Minister Adwoa Ramsay, who is a lover of God and a servant to his people. She is one who believes the future is ours for the taking if we allow God to direct it. She's the wife of the amazing Apostle Timothy L. Ramsay. She is a minister of the gospel. Alongside her husband, they serve the amazing, growing and thriving church, the Place of Grace. They are nicknamed Thunder and Lightning. The mother of the most dynamic and ingenious children, Tamika, 23, Shiloh, is it Shiloh? Shiloh, 22, and Josiah. Shiloh, thank you. Okay. Shiloh, 22, and Josiah, 18. She's been made grand by the amazingly brilliant and beautiful Lila Rose, her first granddaughter. She's the founder of By, a ministry for ordinary women called to do extraordinary things, where the exquisiteness of women is drawn out. So her social media handles, I'm going to put in the chat anyway, but her social media handles are Be Yourself Exquisitely and at Adwoa God's Girl. So without further ado, I'm going to welcome her. And yeah, Minister Adwoa, the floor is yours. God bless you and thank you.
Thank you, Lisa, for inviting me. You're so amazing and blessing. Thank you guys for having me. It's such an honor. It's such an honor to be here, to be hanging with you wonderful ladies this beautiful Saturday evening. No place I'd rather be, praise the Lord. But no, I was so honored when Lisa asked me, all that many months ago, like it was so long ago she asked me. And every time, it was so funny, like every time I was kind of like, have I missed it? Have I missed it? Have I missed it? And then thank God, she'd be like typing back in like, okay, hey, don't forget us. I'm like, girl, just keep reminding me. I've got it in my diary, but you know, things happen. So it's an honor to be able to be here with you guys, just chilling and talking. For those who are on here, I mean, she read my bio. Did I send you my bio?
Yes.
Okay, I'm like, what? This is how, listen, guys, this is how long ago it was. It was that long ago that I don't even remember what I said and what I didn't send. But for those who don't know me, I grew up in New York. So the accent, I'm not trying to say words to make me sound American or anything, if you can even hear a twang. But I grew up in New York. I was born here, but I grew up in New York. And so if you hear that, please understand, I'm not trying to fake it. It just happens sometimes. But I'm so excited and I'm so happy to speak about this subject called confidence, because especially self-confidence, one of the things that I think even growing up is because I am an extrovert, people also automatically assume that extroverts are confident in themselves. They're confident in what they do. They're confident in who they are. And you know, sometimes. But let's look at this now. For those who don't know me, I'm married to a teacher. My husband teaches very well, like he's line upon line, like, so I'm usually the preacher type side of the family, but being married to someone for 23 years, what usually happens is they rub off on you. And so his teaching has kind of rubbed off on me, you know, so bear with me. We're going to teach and preach at the same time, but I hope you're going to be blessed. Amen. So when Lisa said to me about self-confidence, for me, one of the things that I always do, I just think it's always good, even though the English language is very limited in definition, I always do feel like it is good to look up and just see what a word means. So when I looked at the word confidence, it said the feeling or belief that one can have faith in or rely on something or someone or something. It is the state of feeling certain about the truth of something, the feeling of self-assurance arising from an appreciation of one's own abilities and qualities. So when I was reading that and I was thinking about it, and the funny thing is, you know, I'll speak to you guys about it in a moment, but I've kind of been on my own journey of this confidence thing, because I think no matter what, and it's kind of like what Blessing said, I think no matter where you are in life, there's always going to be a moment where your confidence is hit, where your confidence gets shaken, where there's always going to be a moment where you have to look and say, okay, can I do this? Am I able to? Do I have what it takes? And so it was in that moment, and especially in these past couple of months that I've been through, that the Lord has really been helping me with that thing called confidence. One of the things that the Lord really started to speak to me about is that my confidence begins with what I'm seeking. And let me explain to you what I mean by that. Meaning that a lot of the times when we're thinking about confidence and we're thinking about self-confidence, whatever we are seeking, whatever we are just depending on, whatever we are relying on, whatever we have faith in is what is able to give us confidence. And so the Lord started to really speak to me about this thing called self-confidence. And one of the things that he said to me, and I know it might sound a bit like, what, but just bear with me and we'll work our way through. One of the things that he said to me is that my confidence cannot be built in me. So even this statement of I'm self-confident, I'm confident in myself, I'm confident in what I do, I get it. But your confidence almost cannot be built in you. Because at some point, I mean, whoever wants to be real with me, like I'm real 100, we fail ourselves. Okay, am I the only one? Like, all right.
Absolutely. Come on.
There's moments we fail ourselves. And so it's the position where God was saying to me, your confidence actually cannot come from you. I mean, let's do it this way. How many of you one day have said, okay, I'm going to do something like there's a task or there's something that I really want to do, or there's a vision or there's something in me, I really want to do it. How many of us have had that? Okay. I know every one of us have had, even if it's to decide tomorrow I'm going to get up and I'm going to wash the clothes, or I'm going to put the clothes away. Come on. There's something in our lives where we've been like, I'm going to do this. Okay. How many of you have come to the place where sometimes you don't do what you want to do? Come on, because we all been there. Come on. You don't do what's in your heart to do. You were confident when you had it in your mind. You knew I have the ability to do this. But sometimes it still doesn't get done. Now, let me ask you this question, especially when it comes to, let's say, the bigger things. How did that make you feel? Like, did you feel kind of like a little failure? Like, did you go to bed like, man, I knew I should have, or I could have? Did you kind of like, if it was like something small, like putting away the dishes or washing up or putting away the clothes, did you kind of sometimes kind of feel like, oh, I feel a bit lazy? Feel like, oh, really, I could have done a bit more with my day. There's something, do you know what I'm saying? How did you feel? Did you beat yourself up, especially if it was something big, especially if it was something where God was saying to you, hey, I've called you to do this and you didn't do it. Did you beat yourself up? This is one of the things that the Lord was speaking to me about, is that confidence cannot come from us or what we do. Because there's always going to be a moment where we fail in ourselves. It cannot come, and Blessing said it perfectly, it cannot come from what we build or from the opinions of people. We've got to understand that our confidence must come from God. Too many times we are trying to produce confidence in what we do instead of producing confidence in who we are in Him. And so one of the things that I kind of want us to look at and think about from that standpoint of confidence is when we're looking, even when we think about Jeremiah 17, it says, 17 verse 7, it says, but blessed is the one who trusts in the Lord, whose confidence is in Him. I need to be confident in God, because when my confidence is based in God, I will understand that there is nothing I cannot do. The Bible tells us in John chapter 15, remain in me, Jesus was speaking, remain in me and I will remain in you, for the branch cannot produce fruit of itself if it is severed from the vine, and you cannot be fruitful unless you remain in me. Now, this is the thing. The Lord is saying to me that my confidence, listen, is tied into who I'm connected to. Your confidence is based on who you are connected to. Your confidence cannot come other person, because when your confidence is tied to a human, yourself, you've got to understand that your confidence will become fragile. Your confidence will not only become fragile, it becomes frail. Because the thing that we have to understand, that I love because when Bessie said this, I said, girl, get out my sermon. The thing you're going to realize about us as humans, we fail. Like, it's inevitable. There's going to be a moment that we're not going to do exactly what we want to do. There's going to come a moment when we're not going to be able to perform the way we want to perform. We are fragile. There's going to come a moment when we want the accolades and people can't give it to us. So if you can't get it from everyone around you, from the frailty of the people around you, you can't get it from yourself. If your confidence is not based in God, you will fail. Your confidence has to be grounded in someone who's immovable. Come on. Your confidence has to be grounded in someone that does not change. I don't build confidence on things that change. Listen, my emotions change day to day. They change. Things change. I cannot allow my confidence to be based in what changes at the drop of a hat. That self-confidence doesn't come from self. It has to come from God. Listen, this is one of the things that I was looking at. When we are building our confidence, it cannot come from the self. And now I know it sounds a bit crazy, but when I'm confident in myself, if I fail, who backs me up? If I fail, who backs me up? If my confidence is in me, who backs me up? Now, listen, hear me when I say this. Please hear me. I am not against coaches, mentors. I'm not against any of that. I'm not against motivators. But this is why motivators and coaches make so much money. Why do they make so much money? Because they are trying to teach you to be confident in yourself. They are trying to teach you how to keep your confidence up. But the truth of the matter is, you will always be in a cycle of needing a mentor or a coach, because if your confidence is built in you, you're always going to fail yourself. So you're always going to have to be on the phone to say, hey, need a little bit of help. Now, listen, I am all for, listen to me. I am not saying I'm against that, but I am saying this is one of the reasons why the business of coaching. I mean, if you didn't notice over COVID, come on, how many of you got people coming into your DMs saying, you know, I coach, I mentor, let me help you get to where you need to. Come on, am I the only one? Because I had about, come on. Amen. But the truth is that you will always fail yourself. There will always be a space. Hear me, and this is not a negative confession. This is the reality of life. There will always be a space where I am not my best me. Okay, it's not a negative confession. It's not me saying that I'm not good. It's saying that there's always going, like, even like what Blessing was saying, there's always going to be an area in my life that my confidence needs to be built up in. There's always going to be a space in my life that I need more help in. There's always going to be a space in my life where I need the power, the presence, the grace of God to give me the ability to do what I know I've been called to do. And that cannot come externally. It has to come from the inward man. It has to come from the one who made me, who created me, who told me who I am. It has to come from the one that is not movable. It has to come from the one that does not change. Everything around me can change. Even my feelings for what I've been called to do will change. But my confidence cannot come from me. 2 Timothy verse 1. 2 Timothy chapter 1, verse 7, says, for the Spirit of God does not make us timid, but gives us power, love, and self-discipline. When we think about this, we need, and okay, hear me when I say this, guys. You know I love you. Hear me when I say this. Sometimes we need external things because we don't trust the eternal God. Sometimes we need external things because we don't trust the eternal God. When God is saying to us, this is who I've called you to be. When God is saying to us, this is what I've called you to do. When God is saying to us, this is who I've called you. This is who you are. A lot of the times what happens is the enemy comes in and punks us and makes us doubt who he told us that we are. And my thing is, why we need people to come and sometimes give us that booster is because the voices around us have become louder. We've put more faith in, we've relied on more than we've relied on the one that made us. We've got to start thinking and looking at our lives and saying, wait a minute, if my confidence is continually being shattered, maybe it's from a standpoint that, hey, I'm not trusting the one that called me. One of the things that the Lord said to me, he said, Adwoa, what is the opposite of confidence? And the Lord said, fear. He said to me, it's fear. It's doubting that you're enough. It's fearing that what he called you, you really aren't. It's fear that you'll be rejected for being you and doing what he's called you to do. It's fear that I'm not good enough. Like what Blessing was saying, that I don't know my worth. Fear of not understanding that who you are right now is enough for God. So if you're enough for God right now, do you understand that you are enough for every situation that he sends you to? The purpose on your life, you are enough for it. The calling, you're enough for it. Who he's called, you are enough. Like there is nothing that God is saying to you. God is not saying to you, yo, until you get X, Y, and Z, you won't be. No, he's saying from before you were formed in your mother's womb, I knew you and I ordained you. I called you. I justified you. I predestined you. So listen, if you know that and you understand that, your confidence shouldn't come from what you are doing. Your confidence shouldn't come from what you're called to. It should come from the one that knew you before you could even do anything good. Before I could be good, before I could be great, before I could be sanctified, before I could be saved, my confidence has to come from him. Because what he does is he justifies me when I don't know what I'm doing. He justifies me when I don't want to get out of bed. He helps me realize that who I am was birthed before I even felt this way. Genesis 3 verse 10. This is when Adam and Eve sinned. And this part, there was something in here that the Lord said to me, speak to the ladies about this today. It says, Adam says in verse 10, in Genesis chapter 3, verse 10, it says, he replied, so this is Adam talking to God. I heard you walking in the garden, so I hid. I was afraid because I was naked. One of the things that I realize about fear is it's the biggest tool of the enemy. Because what the enemy tells you, what he lies to you about, is that you're not good enough. Confidence comes from a place when you understand whatever situation I'm in, I am built for that moment. And the enemy comes to make you think and feel like, no, you're not. He makes you feel like you're not good enough. He tries to punk you out of the position that you have in God. See, what the enemy will come and do is he will come and hit you with all these kind of things. So the way that the enemy worked with them was that he spoke a lie about what God had said about them. That's the first thing. So that's why I say to you, don't listen to external voices. No external voice should be able to build your confidence. No coach, no mentor, I don't care who it is. No, your pastor, your preacher, your favorite, if T.D. Jakes himself came down and was like, yo, or Juanita Bible, whoever it is people listen to nowadays, I don't even know. Whoever it is, your confidence should not come from them. You shouldn't be running after someone to tell you you're good enough. You shouldn't be running after someone to tell you, hey, this is the word of the Lord of my life. What do you think? No. We read at the beginning in a very layman's way, a very layman term, that confidence is who you have faith and who you rely on. Why confidence in ourselves fails is because we will always fail ourselves. And so the enemy will come and he will try and punk you out of the position that God has placed you in. And if he can punk you out of the position that God has placed you in, he then gets a hold of your mind. And then he makes you think, once he's punked you, listen, once he's punked you out of that space, he now makes you feel like you're not good enough. He makes you feel like your nakedness is a problem. He makes you feel like your vulnerability is a problem. Being naked in front of the one who made you was a problem. Fear entered the garden in the moment of them being disobedient and leaving from the position that God had called them to. He made them feel like they could not be real with the one who created them. He made them feel like, oh, now I'm missing something. Now there's something missing from me. Now, oh my goodness, I'm really not good. I'm not great. Oh my, God, I heard you. What kind of thought process must have happened for Adam to hide from the one he had relationship with, the one who called him? My question to you would be this: when you're looking at your life, how has the enemy made you hide from God? Because if you're looking for confidence, you have to be open and vulnerable with the Holy Spirit. You got to be open and vulnerable with God. You can no longer hide. This is the thing that the enemy tried to play. He tried to play this game and make Adam and Eve feel like they weren't worthy of God's presence anymore. They weren't worthy to be called and to be used by God because there was a flaw now in the system. I really believe that there is a space and a place where we have to come to, where we allow God to teach us that who we are and who we've been called to be is more than enough. You see, God was walking in the place where he created for Adam. Adam hid in the very place that was created for him. Some of you on here are hiding in the very spaces God has called you to dominate because you don't feel like you're good enough. You don't feel like you're worthy. You don't feel like your voice matters. You don't feel like you've got the backing of heaven. And you're hiding because your confidence has been placed in what you see around you. Your confidence has been placed in the external. It's been placed in the colleague. It's been placed in those who have done it before you. It's been placed in those that have done it a bit better than you. Your confidence is no longer in the one that put you in that place in the first place. If God set you up there, tell me, who are you to turn around and tell God, this ain't for me? Oh, I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy. I'm not able. Your confidence is no longer in God. It's now in the situation and yourself. That's where self-confidence becomes a hindrance, because now you won't step into what God has called you to step into because you don't believe that you're worthy of being there. You don't believe that God has called you to be there. You don't believe that you have enough in you to be there. You don't believe that God has spoken these things into existence before the foundations of the world, that he knew you. He called you. He framed you for that space. But because we're trying to build our confidence in these areas, listen, I have learned. God has been teaching me and he's been stripping me of fear. Because one of the things that he showed me was that he said, Adwoa, you haven't stepped out because you felt like you weren't good enough. You felt like you would be rejected. You felt like your voice wouldn't be heard. You felt like you didn't have enough to give. And one of the things that the Lord had to show me was he had to show me the enemy is using these tactics to punk you out of what I've called you to. So whenever I now step into a room, I don't step in arrogant. I step in confident. Why? Because if the door opened for me, I know who opened the door, which says to me, he wants me here. He's placed me here. So he's now here with me. I no longer have this feeling of dread. Now listen to me. I'm humble. I'm grateful. But I'm not scared. Okay, hear what I'm saying. I've come to the place where I'm now in this space where I'm like, I'm confident in him. My confidence has nothing to do with my flesh. Come on. It has nothing to do with my flesh. My confidence is in the fact that he loves me. My confidence is in the fact that he preordained me, that he justified me, that he listen, my confidence has nothing to do with my flesh. So guess what? Even on my worst day, I'm confident.